Good morning, everybody. My name's Amy, and I am a National Disability Coordination Officer, or NDCO, and I'm going to be your MC for today. You've come on a great day. We have 24 practitioners from tertiary education institutions around Australia that are here to talk to you about the supports that are available for people with disability in tertiary education and how you go about accessing them. We're going to start off today with a presentation from Michelle, who works at University South Australia. And just be patient with me as I share my screen so that I can share that with you. While I do that, I also just wanted to give a shout out to Tyson and Chelsea, who are our Auslan interpreters today, and Sharon, who is here to do captioning. Thanks very much, guys. And here we go.
Hello there, I'm delighted to be here today. My name is Michelle Anderson and I manage the Access and Inclusion Services for Students here at the University of South Australia. Now, the information I'm going to give you today is relevant to all universities across Australia, including public and private universities. Now, each university does have its own internal processes that might be different, but the information provided today is at a general level and is applicable to most institutions across the country. So all universities across Australia are required to provide reasonable adjustments and support services for students with disabilities and chronic health conditions. Now, these services and supports are also available to someone who might be a carer of a person with a disability as well. The services are provided by specialised, experienced staff who understand disability and the impacts that it can have when you come to study at a university level. Now, sometimes it can be a little hard to find the information about what disability supports are provided at university, and that's because each university uses a different name for these, and I've listed a few on the slides there. So you can see that there is a range of different titles. So the easiest way I've found is to just Google the name of your university and along with the word disability, or just type disability into your university's webpage search, and that will direct you to the right department where the people are that you need to talk to. So any student who has a disability or a chronic disease or medical condition, including mental health conditions, or is a primary carer of a person with a disability, is eligible to access these extra support services. Each university has their own policies and procedures around what they determine as a disability, but most of them use the definition that's in the Disability Discrimination Act, which is very wide and gives us a lot of scope to make sure that we can support as many people as possible. There is no requirement to have been approved by the NDIS or to be on Centrelink payment or anything like that. It's just whether you have a disability according to the university's policies. So because every person's experience of disability is different, it's unique to them and their circumstances, it's not possible to give you a list of all the types of supports that you might get, because it also depends on the area of study that you wish to undertake and the type of courses that are involved in that program. So that's why we strongly encourage students to speak with the university's disability staff, because they can give you the most appropriate advice and information for your situation. So this list just gives you a few ideas about the sorts of things that we commonly do provide for people. But again, it just depends on your specific circumstances. So there's access to early enrolment, to quiet spaces where you can rest or withdraw. We have specialised computer software, we have adaptive equipment. Participation assistants are casual staff that we employ to assist you in the class or lab where needed. We provide Auslan interpreting, lecture transcriptions, and we convert reading materials to large print or alternative formats. The following list is related to the academic adjustments that can be negotiated, and that includes extra time for tests and exams or extra notes and materials if you have issues with memory. There's assignment extensions, alternative assessment tasks that we can negotiate. You might need to have additional rest or toilet breaks during exams. You might need to be in a smaller exam venue, and you might require specialised seating or desks. And we also organise assistive technology or software for use in exams. So if you are a Dragon user or Zoom takes JAWS or those sorts of things, then we can organise that so that you can use those in your exams. So every university does require you to provide some evidence of about your disability or health condition, and that helps the advisors to make sure that they get all the supports and appropriate things in place for you. You don't need to provide that if you're just a student looking for general information or a prospective student just trying to decide where they're going to go to university, but you will have to provide this if you start at the university and want to get the supports at that time. Any information that you provide to the university must be kept confidential, and it's not shared with anyone else. Every university has their own different ways of communicating support needs to the teaching staff, so it's best to check with your university as to what their specific process is. There's a couple of really helpful online resources as well that I've got there that will help you to understand when it's appropriate to disclose and the things you need to think about when you do. So the ADSET website has loads of information. It's a fantastic website, whether you're a student, a parent, whether you're a teacher or a university worker. It has fabulous information, tips, advice about everything to do with studying at university and with a disability or health condition. So I'd encourage you to have a look around there. And if you have a student on the autism spectrum, the National Neurodiversity Hub is a fantastic spot for you to find a whole range of resources, many of which have been developed by people on the spectrum themselves. So I'd encourage you to visit that website. So after all this information, what do I do now, you're thinking? So these are the things that you should put on your to-do list for the next few months. So check out your preferred university websites and see if you can find their disability resources and have a look about what their processes are. Make a list of the supports that you think you might need and any questions you have, and then make an appointment to speak with one of the specialist disability staff that you're interested in and go through those questions so that you can make an informed decision about the best place for you to head off to tertiary study. It's also a great idea to attend university open days and campus tours if at all possible, because that gives you a really good feel and insight into how easy or not it will be to navigate your university and what it actually looks for, because it's so much bigger and so different to high school. It's always a good idea to do these tours and opportunities when they're provided. So before the end of the year, it's a great idea to get a letter from your school outlining all the supports that you've had there. And if you had any adjustments approved by SATAC for your exams or end of year assessments, then if you could get a letter from them confirming those, that's also very helpful to provide to your university disability advisor. And then you need to start organising any medical reports or assessments that you may already have about your disability or health condition that you can provide to the university when you start in the new year. So you may have things that you've provided to the NDIS, for example, or you might have old assessment reports, you might have a physio report, you might have a paediatrician's report, you might have a psychologist's report. Any of those things will be relevant. So just make sure you get those ready to bring with you to your appointment. Thank you for coming along today. I hope it's been helpful, and I look forward to answering your questions.
Thank you very much, Michelle, for providing that presentation to us. Now we're coming into the really exciting part of our presentation, and that is where you get the opportunity to ask the questions that you have about anything to do with transitioning into tertiary education or into university in this presentation. We have a couple of panelists here that from around the country that are here to answer those questions, and I'd like to introduce those people now. They'll pop their cameras on as I say their names. So we have Michelle, who provided the presentation for us. She's the Manager of Access and Inclusion at Uni South Australia. We also have Rose, and she is a DLO or Disability Liaison Officer at Charles Sturt Uni in New South Wales. We also have Stephanie, and she is an Accessibility Advisor at Swinburne University of Tech in Victoria. And Liz Sullivan, who is an Accessibility Advisor at Murdoch Uni from WA. So thanks very much, guys. Welcome, and thank you for being here. I also wanted to introduce Leanne, who is another NDCO colleague of mine, and she will be reading your questions out of the Q&A box. So anything you want to know, pop your questions in there and we'll put it to our panel. Leanne, have we got any questions yet?
We do indeed. We have one from David. What is SATAC? Sorry, lost in the acronyms.
So yes, I'll answer that if that's okay. It's Michelle. I do apologise for that. That's your state tertiary admission centre. So for us here in South Australia, it's SATAC, but there is an equivalent organisation in each state and territory, and your school will be able to tell you who that is. And they've all got some acronym.
Maybe our other panellists could let us know what the admission centre is called in their state. Rose?
Yeah, in New South Wales, it's UAC.
Beautiful, thanks. Steph?
It's VTAC in Victoria.
Thanks. And Liz?
Once they've done their ATAR, it's the documentation for the adjustments from their ATAR.
Beautiful, thank you. Leanne, any more questions?
Just having a look. What have we got? Yes, we have another one. When would you say is a good time to disclose a disability, and when is it best not to?
Hi, it's Liz. Can I just say that the difference at university is that you have many different academics as you go through. So each semester you might have 4 lecturers and then you have tutors. So there's a lot of staff. So it's certainly a good question to talk with your advisor about, because you don't want to be constantly disclosing to new people every semester. So we'll talk you through who's possibly the best person to disclose to, and who's possibly the best person who would just get some formal piece of paperwork from our team.
Beautiful, thanks Liz. I think something a lot of people don't know, and you could maybe tell us more about, is that you don't actually have to disclose everything about your disability. Could somebody let us know a little bit more specifically about what's important to share?
Sure, I can answer that if you like. So it really is only necessary to share what the support. It's more about sharing what you need in terms of support rather than what the name of your condition is, for example. So you don't need to let people know that you have a mental health condition. You might let them know that instead that you have a condition that requires some regular appointments, or sometimes you might not be able to attend lectures or participate in group chats as robustly as you might like to, that sometimes you might miss classes. for someone who has a vision impairment, you might want to explain that you're going to require some audio translation for anything that's visually presented. So it's those sorts of things. So you talk about the practical ways that you need support and what your needs are, as opposed to what is your condition or your disability.
Thanks, Michelle. Steph, are you able to chat to us a little bit about the privacy rules around that? Because I know a lot of people fear sharing their disability because they don't want everybody to know their life story.
Yeah, so at Swinburne, we don't share the diagnosis at all. Similar to what Michelle just said, you know, we for every student, we write up what we call education access plan, which includes the functional impact of the disability. So that may be something like fatigue, difficulty concentrating, issues with memory, you know, whatever it may be. But we don't generally say what the actual disability is unless the student would like us to do that. This information is only shared with those academics that are actually teaching the student, and other support services if the student agrees to that. So yeah, we make sure that the information doesn't go to people that don't need to see it.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you very much. I think it's important for people to be aware there are pretty strict privacy laws around, and nothing's going to be shared without your permission first. You'll be asked first. Leanne, do we have any more questions coming in?
No, that's all for now.
Alrighty. Maybe one about...
Sorry, I have another one. If I am struggling with my study, can you help?
Rose, we haven't heard from you. What would you answer for that one?
If it's a general, fairly general question, and generally yes. So I suppose getting back to what the functional impact of a condition might be, if you're struggling, say with your studies in relation to reading, you might have dyslexia or a similar condition. We can put in exam provisions. Might be a reader or writer or software. Maybe it's extra time if you're someone who needs to kind of reread your questions, for example. So I mean, there's a whole range of supports we can put in to help. We might also refer you to other areas of the university, like academic skills advisors, who can actually help you with the structure and you know, planning your assignments. So there's a lot of other supports in the university that all students can access, as well as, you know, specific adjustments we can put in. Might be extensions on assignments as well, something like that. So yeah, that's a general answer. Yeah.
Thanks, Rose. I think Liz had something she wanted to add.
Amy, I just wanted to add to all the students out there to come and see us early. Even if you don't feel like you don't need us at the beginning, our teams just sort of sit there and you come and go in and out of us as you need to. So come at the beginning, we'll get you set up, then we might not see you till October, where you pop back through, and because you need linking in with something like a study support team, then we might see you in February, but you just come and go in and out of the team. But once you're linked in, you've got a friendly face, you've got an email address, and it's better to start with us at the beginning than come in when you're in a big panic. It's hard to fix backwards, but we can definitely fix forwards.
Yeah, thanks, Liz. Important point. In fact, the research tells us that students that engage with support services earlier on tend to have better results for success and you know, finishing off their courses strongly the earlier that they come in. So great tip there. One of the questions that I had before we even got through to this coming from a student was around the cost. I think a lot of people assume that there is a cost associated with getting support. Can I have a response from somebody around that?
There is no cost. It's absolutely free to use the service.
Yeah, beautiful. I think that comes as a bit of a shock to some people. There's a question just popped in the box now. What will happen if I fail a subject? So what sort of support can you guys offer if somebody realises they need help because they're failing?
happy to have a quick chat about that. It's always very individual. If you're needing to withdraw out of a subject after a certain date because of your health condition, then come back through the team and we may be able to get you to be able to withdraw out on medical grounds. If you continue through the unit and give it a good bash but you fail, then you may need to do the unit again. So it's always a very individual situation, but certainly don't sort of stay by yourself just worrying about it. Just have a conversation and we can look at what the different options might be, because there certainly are options, and you'll be able to think through the options and make a choice on what's best for you.
Beautiful, thank you, Liz. Leanne, do we have any more questions?
We do indeed. Okay, so I have one from Reese. Do uni services run tours of services, or have students from uni or TAFE with disabilities to talk to high school students? Interesting question.
Who's going to tackle that one for us?
Here in South Australia, we definitely do that. So we have a university marketing team who do the contact with schools, but I also go one in a couple of weeks actually. So where I'll go out to the careers or evenings or career seminars they have at schools, and if anyone's got a disability or health condition, I can talk to them about the support. So yeah, certainly can supply that information.
I think it's probably similar here. I think we've got an open day in August that I'll be attending as well. And we have sort of, they call it I Explore days, where students can come on campus. So I think probably usually there's a representative there to talk to students. Yeah.
So
definitely, sorry, I was going to say definitely, there's open days. The university open days are a really great place to come to. Our teams are often there. And if not, anybody from future students, they'll give you an email address, or they'll get one of the team to give you or your parents a call. So it's a really easy way to link in with us. We're not hard to get hold of.
And can I just add to that too, because for everyone who finds open day a bit overwhelming, we also meet with students one-on-one to have a look at the campus.
Fantastic. So if, for example, a school or some teachers at a school are wanting to organise that, who should they reach out to?
They can contact the Disability Services team or the marketing team in the university. Yeah.
Beautiful, thank you. We're drawing very close to the end of our panel. Leanne, were there any other questions that have popped up?
And like, don't cut me off. I have 2 questions. Okay, can I come and talk to the Disability Services team before I start my study?
Yes.
Yes, yes. Please do.
Correct answer. And we have another one. This is from EMC. My daughter is struggling to get through year 12 with a condition that causes chronic pain, fatigue, fainting and migraines. She is worried she won't achieve the ATAR she requires. And what should she do in terms of uni applications? She's not on the NDIS. What supports can uni provide with daily living away from home?
I can start with the different pathways, and that's very different for all the different universities. But if you Google alternative pathways, it's often the keywords for different ways of coming into university other than that normal one that you think of in regards to year 11 and 12. So you'll see things like stack tests or short intense courses or a semester course. So it's called alternative pathways. Give that a Google of wherever you're interested in attending, and that's how you'll get your information. I'll let someone else do the one about support away from home.
I
was going to say it's an individual thing. We certainly have, and particularly if you've got an NDIS package and have carers, if you require any personal care, we want to facilitate that on campus. The universities themselves don't provide what we call personal care, but we certainly facilitate it. We've had people stay on campus with students when they're living here and may come in for periods. maybe rest breaks or quiet rooms. I think it was in Michelle's presentation talked about that. So it is going to depend on those individual situations, and it might be, if there's pain, we might organise for a more comfortable chair, so you're not sitting in those smaller lecture, we can get sort of a padded comfortable chair, breaks from classes, and it's going to depend a lot on the course you're in about what those requirements are as well. So I think it's really useful to have a chat with the disability advisor and even the course director, if we can get those two to find out. It's probably you to go, Michelle.
Oh no, I was just going to say when you're finished, just let her know that there are still options for her. The ATAR, not getting her ATAR does not mean she can't come to university. There are so many different ways you can come here. So and she would certainly have opportunities. So she should not worry about that.
Alrighty, I'm going to have to wrap it up there, but thank you very much to each of our panelists. Your insight and your sharing has been really helpful. Really appreciate you being here.